Hello, my 7th grade scholars. Welcome to our Guide to Writing a Précis. We are going to write a Précis together. So this will be your first Précis written on European unity. So we've already covered European unity and some of the aspects related to it. I will walk you through how to write your first Précis. So I would recommend getting Google Docs up. So get Google Docs up so that you can start typing away some of the things that I'm typing. You'll see already I have an example and you have to have a heading. Wait, what? Yep, same kind of thing we've always done in class. So you're gonna have a heading on your Google Doc and then you have your 4 sentences right below. There's a lot of information here. We're not gonna keep all of this on the page. This is just to guide us through it. So I would recommend pausing right now. Make sure you get Google Docs up. Or you can write it all out. So that's going to be up to you. You can use paper and pencil. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is write your heading. Student name, first and last, my name, language arts 7, period, whatever period you are, and then précis and date. If you don't put an accent on the précis, I don't mind. Once in a while, I'll probably make a mistake and not do the accent. I'm not really that concerned about it. I've tried to mostly for some documents. And then you'll put the date. You could put the due date. You can make it April 1st because this will be due April 1st. So the next thing that we're going to do is take a look at sentence 1. So sentence 1 has our 6 things. We know it has 6 things. We've already covered this. So you have your heading, and then you want to start typing your first sentence. So author, author's credentials, title, date published. This should be year, probably, a little mistake here. Genre, thesis. So let's take a look. We are going to cover European unity. I have it right here for us. And the cool thing that I did for you is highlight some things in certain colors. So you'll note at the very bottom of European unity that for the précis, the pink is sentence 1, the blue is sentence 2, yellow sentence 3, and green sentence 4. So we're going to start looking at the pink stuff. Okay, so if we're going to find the author, so we have our pattern, right? So we have the pattern, we need to find the author, we need to find the author's credentials. I have all of that in pink, so there's your little hint right there. So we'll start this, our pattern is in the blank, so genre. What is our genre here? If we look over here, European unity, oh, speech is our genre. So we know we would need to fill in the speech. And then what's the title of our text? European unity. Date is, what's the date? Oh, it's way down here, 1947. Sometimes you might need to look in a different spot for those things. So let's just start. I'm going to write my sentence right below here. So in the, what did we say? It's speech, comma, the title, European unity. The date is 1947. So you see how we're doing this? Not right now, I'm doing a video. Thank you. Comma, and then we have our author. So we know George C. Marshall is our author. A lot of times these guys that do speeches, they actually have someone else write the speech for them. And then they deliver it, but we're going to claim that it's George C. Marshall. I actually think someone else wrote it, but it might have been him. Don't quote me on that. So George C. Marshall, and then what do we say? We have the author, and then what are his credentials? Take a look. Secretary of State to President Truman. So let's fill that in. Secretary of State to President Truman, comma, and then all we have to do is fill in, writes that, okay, writes that, cool, we found all that information, and then what is our thesis? This is where we're trying to figure out some of the stuff that's not as obvious. So let's take a look. I'm just going to push that to the side here, see if this works. I have in pink all the things that would be the related to the first sentence. So you're going to come down here, and this whole thing, really you need to understand the text to understand what the thesis would be. What's the point here? What's he trying to say? What's the reason that he's writing? Oh, there's a hint, pink. So he talks all about Europe and the devastation that they've had, but he says it is logical that the United States should do whatever it is able to do to assist in the return of normal economic health in the world, without which there can be no political stability and no assured peace. So really, Marshall is stating that the United States should assist Europe from their devastation, they should help. The United States should help Europe recover from World War II. So let's write that. We don't need to write exactly what I have highlighted there. That's just giving you a hint. So he writes that the United States needs, so this is what he wants to have happen. This is the whole point, the reason that he's giving this speech. Needs to assist Europe recover from, we'll write the whole thing out. We could do it like this, WW capital I, which is Roman numeral 2, or World War, and then capital I, Roman numeral 2. There's your first sentence. So in the speech, European Unity, 1947, George C. Marshall, Secretary of State to President Truman, writes that the United States needs to assist Europe recover. Maybe in recovering? Needs to recover from World War. Needs to assist in helping Europe recover from World War II. Needs to assist Europe in recovering. I don't know. For some reason, this isn't making sense right now. Needs to assist Europe in recovering from World War II. That sounds good to me. Okay, so we have sentence 1. Let's look at sentence 2. So sentence 2, supporting proofs. When you write, hold on, let me rewind for a second. When you write this, you're not going to have all of this stuff up here. So really, you could just get rid of it right now. And then come down here, tab that. We have our first sentence. Now we're on sentence 2. It also won't be in bold, so we can do that right here. This is change that later if you want to. This is mostly just to kind of help you see how you're using this pattern on like literally filling in the blanks. So supporting proofs. We've got sentence 2. Now we need to support that Europe needs to assist in recovering. United States needs to assist Europe in recovering from World War II. So we need to prove that with some of the things that Marshall says. So we want to start with the author. So let's just fill this in before we actually even find the proofs. So we want to start with the author, and we know that the author is George C. Marshall. So let's type that. Oh, let's just do the last name. Marshall supports this point by doing what? Well, he establishes this argument. So he could support this point by, or he could establish this argument by expressing the dire situation of Europe's collapsing economy. So I'm choosing a lot of words here. Let's go back really quick now and look at the blue section. We've got all this stuff that shows that there's some tough times in Europe where we've got the farmers that are withdrawing their fields and not able to help those in the city. And then we've got this process that exhausts funds. So we have a bunch of things in between. So what we're going to do here is take a look at this and say, Europe's in a dire situation. The situation is basically, it's from farmers who have withdrawn their fields to the lack of trade that created a process that exhausts funds. So if I'm going to write this out, I might start typing things and then think, wait, I'm going to reword that. Oh, wait, this sounds better if I do it this way. But we're not going to do exactly 3 things. We're basically saying from the farmers to this process. So there are a bunch of things in between. So it's not labeling 1, 2, 3. So it's not a perfect 3-point here. So this is how we're going to make this one work. Supporting proofs. Okay, so Marshall supports this point by expressing the dire situation of Europe's collapsing economy. From farmers who have, and then this is where I'm quoting directly. So we've got withdrawn many fields to lack of trade. So here's another thing that created a process that exhausts funds, but the word "that" was not actually in the text, so I need to clarify that with brackets. Process that exhausts funds. So I'm using this quote here showing that I added the word "that" so that it would make sense with my sentence, but really it just said process exhausts funds because of the way it was worded. So let's look at this again. Did I make a big mistake that we're going to need to correct? Or maybe we want to reword something. So Marshall, so this is our second sentence. We have the author that supports this point by, and then whatever verb, I decided to say expressing the dire situation. So I'm using expressing. And then I have the proofs. So Marshall supports this point by expressing the dire situation of Europe's collapsing economy from farmers who have withdrawn many fields to lack of trade that created a process that exhausts funds. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to leave that right there. There's sentence 2. And then we're going to move on to sentence 3. Take a moment. We're going to go to another video and make sure that you have this typed up. Make sure you've gotten your notes. Make sure you have your heading up here so you're ready for the next half.